Hello and welcome to Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics, where we talk about some exotic, to say the least, paranormal subject matter beyond many people's heads, but not beyond your head because you're here watching. And this is part two, talking about weather and sensations and things like that on the other side. So if you hadn't seen that video, and so it's a few videos back, basically I go into like the philosophy behind this subject. There is a line of thought that believes that maybe we don't have normal physical sensation when we die because we don't have a quote physical body, and I disagree with that because our bodies are still at least pseudo physical. That there's also the uh, line of thought related to some of Jürgen Zewey's work where he alludes that like you don't feel normal coldness, but like coldness is related to like a spiritual lack. Not having spiritual fulfillment creates a sensation of coldness. Love creates warmth. Things like that. Again, very interesting. I'm sure all that's real, but but that's not so much my area. I'm talking about like literal sensations, not talking about metaphorical sensations or representations. I've been asking if there's normal sensations like here. In my experience, there are, but some mediumship reports have said that it is not like that. So this was an area of debate. I spoke about it in the last video. Um, well, let me just clarify a little bit more. Specifically, basically, they were saying that you don't feel weather patterns, you don't feel the heat and the cold. And there was one instance of one person allegedly coming through some medium one time who said that they weren't experiencing like the cold air, the warm air, things of that nature. So anyway, so this video came out last week, and since that time I decided to investigate the matter. I ended up having an out-of-body experience, an astral projection episode into the astral home that I populate. Before I finish that story, by the way, if you like this kind of stuff, please hit the subscribe button down below the big red button, or you can do the holy trifecta of YouTube, which is subscribe, the notification bell, and share. All this stuff keeps the channel alive. I depend on you guys to do that, and if you like the information, dispelling myths about the other side and getting to the bottom of what the afterlife is really like outside of all the new agey stuff in the books and the celebrity mediums, like getting down to what's really going on. If you like that, then sharing the video and getting more reach is really important for everybody. Anyway, to continue, um, I'm always drinking coffee these days at like 1 o'clock in the morning just because I have to stay up extra late to finish up these videos because I'm busy doing other stuff all day. And then, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, now I gotta make the YouTube videos. So it doesn't matter. My sleep schedule was already out of whack. So anyway, to continue, so about weather and sensations, I tested this out with an out-of-body experience. So I appeared in my astral home, same home I grew up in. It's like a mobile home, not the fanciest place on earth, but it was home when I was a kid, and that whole my whole ranch carried over to the other side. And so it's a mobile home, and there's this really beautiful area outside of it that my dad developed. He just didn't get rid of the mobile home, but he built all these beautiful walkways and bricks and Spanish style architecture and outdoor like barbecues and sculptures. I mean, it was a surrealistic place. Maybe that's why I came out so weird, because I grew up in this really unusual but beautiful looking place when I was a kid. So that whole place copied itself to the astral side, and like 80% of the time when I'm out of body, I'm hanging out in my house. So you know what that's like. It's like, imagine you go to sleep here, you wake up, and I wake up in my bed there. Same lucid awareness as here. Wake up, look around, it's like, well, here I am on the astral side. And sometimes I'm by myself. There's nobody even home. And before my parents passed away, I'd appear there and I'd generally be the only person in the house. But sometimes I'd catch like my mom there if she was sleeping at the same time, and then she was projecting also. But most of the time it was just me by myself. Up until my parents died, now they both hang out there again. So anyway, so I peer, and then I'm like, well, I remember now we had the topic going on the Afterlife research group with Jurgen and everybody. So like, I'm going to investigate the matter. So because I promised somebody like I would actually burn myself just to figure out if we have normal sensation. I walk into the kitchen, I turn on the burner. Same burner, we still use it. My mom cooks on it. The week before last, I was there with her. She was cooking like a lentil stew. So, we have that little kitchen connected to some kind of like a really big propane tank outside. I don't know if it still uses the propane tank, or if it just uses magical astral abilities now or something. I don't know. But anyway, so I turn on the burner, stick my hand over it. Guess what happens? Nothing. I don't feel a thing. Turn the burner off. I walk out into, open the door, go down the steps into the the front yard, which has a adobe brick um, walkway, and I do feel the bricks, the cold bricks on my feet, but I don't feel any air, any sensation coming from that side. So I'm like, you know, this is kind of funky, and this is kind of verifying what they said. Um, so the experience ends. I make a post on afterlife topics and metaphysics about this, and wondering if is this true then that you don't feel sensation so much on that side like you do here, because it doesn't seem right. It seems like one of those urban legends. Um, so I made this post, and then we have Michelle Page chimed in. Michelle Page is a psychic medium who has a really no nonsense style and approach, and asks a deceased loved one a lot of like very direct questions about that side. He gets very direct answers. I've noticed it's pretty accurate stuff. A lot of mediumship info can be really accurate. You can tell, you can sniff out the good mediums from the bad ones. Excuse me, based on what they're saying. So Michelle Page had this to say. So her deceased loved one Ken, was that maybe a husband or something? Sorry, Michelle, you may have to fill me in on your relation to him, but this is her main source of info about what the other side is like, and it's fun because it just lines up with astral experiences and lines up with everything else. So basically, this issue of sensation, in my experience, was posed to Ken, and here's what he had to say. Because, as Michelle says, Ken is aware of astral travelers on his side of the fence. The gist of it is, you're a ghost on the other side that's visible to everyone and has limited interaction with that physical side of things. Let that sink in. So, some of us, I mean, I do believe that we can have these kind of parallel lives, but the issue is that our consciousness is fragmented between here and there, and so we are becoming more ghostly. And then when we're projecting, like our consciousness here is like plugged into there, we're even more of a ghost. Um, and Michelle mentions that the word ghost is kind of used because it's the only way to describe a visual appearance of somebody sometimes when they're astral traveling. And I can verify this because I've had episodes where people have looked at me like I was some kind of specter. They could tell immediately that I was an astral traveler. And Ken is saying, yeah, we see him all the time. These kind of translucent people walking around who are like checking the place out because they're asleep on this side. So this is a telltale sign to give the fact away that someone is not dead, just traveling, and it has to do with the visual appearance. Again, consistent. I know about this already. When you travel, your senses are intact, but you don't have the full weight of yourself in one place to get the full Monty. The same as it is for him on this side. When he's coming down here, trying to materialize to us, he's a ghost. When we go to that side, we're a ghost because it's dimensional inconsistency based on hyperdimensional physics. So Ken says when he's here, he has limited ability to interact because our physical existence is so darn dense. He can touch me, but it's been primarily through focusing his energy into his fingernails. Only recently has he been able to make his fingertips noticeable. As far as air temperatures go, he notices them only a little, and then it makes no difference to him. He can stick his hand in a flame on my stove and not get burned, even though the same action on the other side will give him a burn. Let that sink in. So here I am sticking my hand in the flame, thinking, we must all be these I don't want to say phantasms, but we must be these, really non-physical types of entities on that side if fire just doesn't even affect us. But what Michelle and Ken are saying here is that in his astral body, on I assume the middle astral level, he can actually burn himself if he's exposed to fire. Very reminiscent of our existences here. And nothing happened with me because I wasn't fully there. I was in that kind of ghost-like form. Um, let's see. So basically, again, Ken brings up similar things. He can feel the floor, dirt, grass, because it's a dense physical barrier that informs him the same as it does for us when we're traveling, astral traveling. That's just like so. When I walked out into the patio, I couldn't feel the air around my body, but I could feel the ground. So that lines up with that, doesn't it? I can feel the cold steps, can't feel the air. So just like him when he's visiting us. Um, the rules are different when you're visiting the other side because you're still physical here. It gives you more solidarity that allows you to affect things there, even though everyone knows you're a ghost. But you won't feel everything because your density is different. Basically, it's what it's like for him to come here, but with a slight twist. Touche. I think that's what's going on. I don't think that on the middle astral level there's any kind of like serious difference going on with physicality. We keep saying non-physical. I don't think that's the accurate terminology. It sounds like, on at least on that level, you can feel everything. You'll get burned if you stick yourself in a bunch of fire. I'm curious what would happen if your astral body got destroyed. What happens if you jump into a bunch of lava? I've theorized about that before in my writing, theorizing maybe some entity will have to, you know, respawn, to use computer game terminology, or body or something. I don't know. So there's a lot of questions left about that. But I've had many astral experiences, and I've always felt sensation. But this was the first time that I was like specifically focusing on it. I've been there, I've eaten things, I've tasted things, but there always is a little bit of a disconnect. And I guess I've always wondered if that disconnect was just how it is for people there, or if it was just me. And I go back to the first lesson I ever had about out of body experiences was by a teacher on the higher astral plane that I visited on one of my first trips, and he told me every time from here on out, when you begin doing this stuff, you're never going to be fully here in this dimension, so it's never going to feel completely solid to you like it does to us. So just keep that difference in mind. Not until you're dead will you fully transition into this dimension. And I was taught that probably specifically because to avoid bringing back information that is inaccurate about their world, right? So as my introductory first astral trip, I was taught that as a way to reinforce something that probably causes a lot of misconceptions. So anyway, I hope that this maybe puts to rest the subject a little bit. Well, obviously it doesn't. This stuff never gets put to rest. But long story short, I'm pretty sure at this point that that there is no, like, the discrepancies that we see in experience is related to astral projecting itself being an imperfect science. It's not so much that we have some serious limitation like this on the other side. Okay, guys, this is Cyrus. If you like this stuff, check out afterlifetopics.com. There is books out there like, heck, I'll just pull one up real quick. I'll head on over to afterlifetopics.com. the old promo. I need to take this down. It's going to come up on a full year now with this up in the site. This was the promo before the Afterlife and Beyond came out. But first book is Understanding Life After Death. An attempt to get down to the kind of a concrete idea about the other side. And you can find out on Amazon. You can find a Facebook group. You can find classes, all that good stuff. I'll see you on the next video.